In terms of bigger fights down the line, we were talking with Porter last week, and the sense was he wins, he wants Pacquiao. And I saw you tweet out over the weekend that a Spence-Pacquiao fight is a non-starter. Why do you think something like that?
There's a better chance of Eisen-Spence, I think.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think that's if...
By the way, Eisen-Spence is a great, let's just say, Bond villain. Eisen-Spence. You don't want to go on the island of Eisen-Spence at all.
That's not bad.
That's where I would go with Eisen-Spence. Why is Spence-Pacquiao so far-fetched to you?
Pacquiao's people around him are looking at things kind of objectively at the end of his career. He's 40 years old. You put him with Errol Spence, not only is he a significant underdog, but he could get hurt. Errol Spence is that good and that powerful. And if you're Team Pacquiao, you're not doing that to your guy. I mean, Pacquiao is criticism proof, right? Like, he has fought all the tough fights in the prime of his career. If he chooses to avoid an Errol Spence fight because of what the outcome could be, nobody cares. Let him go on and fight a Danny Garcia or a Mikey Garcia or somebody that is good but not as physically dangerous as Errol Spence. So I don't, Errol Spence can beg for it. They can offer as much money as they want. It would take, I think, a Mayweather amount of money to get Pacquiao in the ring to fight Errol Spence. There simply isn't that type of money available for that type of fight.
So who do you, Chris Mannix, think Spence should fight next then?
It certainly sounds like with the WWE type charade they did at the end with Danny Garcia coming into the ring that they're lining him up for that fight. That's fine. Danny's a good fighter, only lost twice in his career, and they were close losses to good fighters both times. I'm okay with that. But can we get down to business and have Terrence Crawford against Errol Spence? I mean, that is right now, because we don't know what's happening with Anthony Joshua down the line. That's the biggest fight I think to be made in boxing. Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, two elite 147 pounders, and I am so tired of hearing about how, well, one's promoted by this guy and one's promoted by that guy. Meaningless. That fight is a pay-per-view level fight. Networks can work together. Promoters can work together. It's the biggest fight to be made in boxing. I think that fight should be next for both.
It sounds like you're saying that with a little bit of exasperation because of what might be going on.
Decades of covering this thing.
I know that. Well, also with what's going on with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. What do you think's going on right there?
I think they're okay. I mean, they just announced Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz, which will happen in late November. If Wilder gets through that unscathed, they have a contract to fight, in early next year. They've been saying late February. I don't really believe that. I think it's more likely to be March or April, given the cut that Fury suffered in his last fight and Wilder fighting so close.
By the way, it's call that a cut.
That was a gash.
I mean, my gosh.
That was a gash.
That was quite something.
Caused by a punch, too, which is even more impressive. A lot of times headbutts cause those types of injuries. But I think that should be a blueprint. You've got one fighter in Wilder that works with Al Heyman, that is promoted, is on Fox, and you've got another fighter in Wilder with Top Rank and on ESPN. They can make a deal. Why can't Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford make a deal for the summer of 2020? There is no reason. And I get a little worried too, Rich, because Terrence Crawford's 32 years old now. If we start to get into 2021 or 2022, it starts to diminish what that fight ultimately could be. And then you start wondering what would have happened, just like with Mayweather and Pacquiao. What would have happened if they fought earlier?
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.